When night falls over the small village of Marmeleiro, the atmosphere becomes dense, filled with mystery and whispers that seem to come from places forgotten by time. Some say it's just the wind passing through the trees. Others, however, know there's something more in that oppressive silence. The House of Whispers, an imposing mansion at the end of the dirt road, is the most feared legend in the region. Many have tried to invade its rusted gates, but few have returned to tell the story, and those who did, well, their words were always the same: it's alive. That night, Lucas, Beatriz, João, and Carla were gathered in an old bar in the city center, out of sight from anyone who might try to stop them. Excitement was in the air, but so was a growing sense of apprehension. Beatriz, always more sensitive, felt the chills running down her spine as she listened to the stories of abandoned houses. The old mansion was not just a place of scary stories, but also the center of a curse, generating a deep fear in all the locals. If not for this, she would surely have stayed at home that night, but her friends convinced her. Lucas, the skeptic of the group, dismissed the stories. "These ghost tales are just inventions to keep curious people away," he said, mocking the legends. To him, it was all a farce, a construct of weak minds. João, the more adventurous one, was more excited about having a good horror story to tell others in the future. Carla, less concerned about the supernatural, saw it as an opportunity to have some fun. Together, the four made a pact to explore the house and bring to light whatever was true in the stories that surrounded it. The walk to the mansion felt like a journey into the unknown. The dirt roads were silent, and the thick fog began to envelop everything around them. Nothing felt more real than the sensation that something was watching them from the shadows. They reached the house after a few minutes, and the scene was even darker than they had imagined. The old structure stood at the top of a hill, as if defying time. Its broken windows looked like empty eyes, while the front door, with its rusted hinges, seemed to whisper to the visitors that something awaited them inside. "Let's go quickly, before the fear gets to us," João said, trying to give the group a little more courage. But Beatriz couldn't help but notice what seemed to be a warning emanating from the place. A palpable sense that something terrible had happened there, something that didn't want to be unearthed. She glanced behind, but soon the fog swallowed the last lights of the village, and the sound of trees swaying in the wind was all that remained. Without further words, the group crossed the rusted gate. The sound of their steps echoed on the stone sidewalk, reverberating in the house's silence. Each of their hearts beat faster, and the tension in the air seemed thicker than the very fog that surrounded them. The door creaked open, as if the house itself were waiting for them, ready to reveal its darkest secrets. Inside, the smell of mold and dust hit them like a blow. The house was completely disordered, with furniture covered in white sheets and cracks in the walls that seemed like stories from a distant time. But as their eyes adjusted to the dim light, something felt wrong. The house was alive in some way. The shadows moved, as if watching every step they took, and the silence was broken only by the sound of the floorboards creaking under their feet. "Let's explore already. I don't want to spend the whole night here," Lucas said, trying to ease the growing tension. But as he said those words, a window that had been closed suddenly slammed shut, making the group jump in fright. A soft whisper, almost inaudible, seemed to come from within the house. "Who's there?" Beatriz asked, her voice trembling slightly, but there was no answer. Whatever was in that house didn't want to reveal itself just yet. It was only the beginning. As the group ventured deeper, the sounds around them intensified. The sound of footsteps on the stairs above, doors closing on their own, the constant whisper, now clearer, calling them to the living room, where an old rocking chair was moving on its own. Unknowingly, they had crossed the line between the world of the living and the echoes of lost souls. Now, the house became their only destination. And the only question left was, who would make it out alive? The room was immersed in an eerie gloom. The only light came from the broken lamps, flickering faintly, as if they were about to give out completely. The sound of the wind, which before seemed like a mere breeze, now felt like a tangible presence, a whisper slipping through the cracks in the walls. Beatriz was visibly uncomfortable, her eyes scanning every corner of the room, trying to catch any movement. The others, though skeptical, couldn't deny that the atmosphere was heavy, something beyond the house's mere decay. "I don't like this place, guys," Beatriz said, her voice trembling. She looked at the rocking chair, which was now moving slowly, as if an invisible hand was pushing it. The chair creaked with each movement, and the sound seemed to echo in everyone's ears. But Lucas, nervously laughing, insisted on dismissing it. It's just the wind. B, there's nothing here. We're just letting our imagination take over. Joe, who had been laughing at the other's reactions, began to feel uneasy. The house had a strange energy, as if it was absorbing every word spoken, every movement made. He approached one of the walls, inspecting the cracks in the wooden structure, and that's when he noticed something was wrong. The cracks were moving, as if they were slowly expanding the closer he got. The feeling of claustrophobia grew with every passing minute, and a shiver ran down his spine. I'm not going crazy, right? You guys are seeing this too? He asked, his voice tense. But when Beatriz looked at the cracks, they had stopped moving. She didn't know what was happening, but she felt, without a doubt, that something was watching them. Suddenly, the air in the room became even colder. It was as if the temperature had dropped several degrees in seconds. What had once been harmless curiosity was now becoming something much more threatening. Carla, still trying to keep a carefree attitude, was the first to notice the sound coming from one of the hallways. A soft tap-tap echoed from a distance, as if someone were walking there. Who's there? She called, but received no answer. The sound grew louder, and now it seemed to be coming from all directions. There was no more doubt, they were being watched. We need to get out of here now, Beatriz exclaimed, her eyes wide with fear. She tried to turn around, but the door to the room slammed shut with a bang, trapping them inside. The group was now in panic, but there was no way back. The silence in the room was broken by a guttural sound, almost like a deep whisper, which seemed to come from the very walls. She's here, murmured Beatriz, her eyes fixed on something no one else could see. Her voice trembled, but there was a determination in her gaze, as if she were preparing to face something she already knew was lurking. The house wants to take us, she said, in a barely audible voice. But as he touched it, he was violently thrown back, falling to the floor. The door, which had seemed sealed, was now open, but for whoever was on the other side, something much worse awaited. João was the first to try to run, but when he turned to look at his friends, he saw a figure, a shadow, standing at the end of the hallway. Its eyes were mere dark holes, a presence that exuded such power that it made them feel as if they were being pulled toward it, and that exuded such power that it made them feel as if they were being pulled toward it.